everyone. Welcome back to the review realm once again for another album review. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button on this video. Also, subscribe to the show. Really helps us out with album reviews like this. It's a new month. We're chugging along once again, as I said, with another album review. And as always, joining me for these album reviews, Sam, the SLB himself. Sam.
Hey guys, the SLB here. Yeah, here's gonna be an interesting one. Long story short, we're gonna be kind of diving out of the metal section, if you will, and diving into my personal favorite genre, progressive rock.
Yes. I I think before we really dive into it, I think one of the first tracks on this album. Of course, before I get into that, I should say what we're talking about here. We are talking about the progressive rock band that I had never heard of up until this point. Sam's recommendation. We're talking about Big Big Train and their new album, as Sam is displaying it there. I'll show it right there. Woodcut. Yeah. So Sam, I was curious because you recommended this, so I was wondering what the background is for you with this band.
So, quick background. You and I have been friends for a long time, and we both discover music the same way. Where one day we just get bored, we go down a rabbit hole. Here's a single I like, and so the same thing happened with Big Big Train about 10 years ago. I came across them with their album English Electric Part 2. The opening track, East Coast Racer, which is about, I think, between 15 and 17 minutes long, just stuck with me. Um, so long story short, the band's been around since 1990. This is their 16th album, I believe.
Oh.
This is their third album with their current singer. They had a longtime singer, John Longden, who tragically passed away back within the past like 5-6 years. So it was one of those kind of like Linkin Park or all these other bands. Oh, we don't know what's going to happen. I've always liked these guys though. To me, they have a very, and we'll get into it, a very classic 70s progressive rock. Like there are moments here where I'm feeling Genesis. There's a moment here where I'm feeling a little bit of Yes, a little more modern sometimes with like a Porcupine Tree sound. So if you're familiar with any of those bands, good on you. If not, well, I guess we can dive right into it.
Yeah, so this was my first time hearing this band, and immediately, Sam, with one of the singles, and the second track on the album, "The Artist," I said, "Okay, I see why Sam recommended this."
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the first note I had, it's not metal per se, this album, but this, I was like, "There's some Dream Theater vibes in
Mm-hmm.
here a little bit."
Yeah, so at least my understanding of the background of this album, and you can kind of hear it a little bit looking at the artwork, looking at the name. My understanding is a couple of the members of the band went to an art museum and they were just looking at paintings and they were like, thinking about an artist and how they craft their work and nothing is ever perfect and like kind of driving themselves nuts trying to make sure that whatever kind of piece of art it is, it drives them wild. And I feel like The Artist was a good way to kick that off. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first single that came out.
Yep, that's right. Um, I I'll say, Sam, before there's a couple of other singles too. I think "The Sharpest
Mhm.
Blade" was another
Yep.
one, and then there's a third one, if I'm not mistaken, "Counting Stars."
Yes.
I will say, Sam, I you may have to take the reins on this one a little bit. Personally, I didn't really enjoy this album.
No, I think it's funny when you texted me. I'm like, this is going to be a. And again, there's a lot of people, and I try. One of the things I'm trying to do with these reviews here is I'm trying to avoid other people's reviews before we do. Trying to
Me too.
take away.
Yeah.
Um, the problem is everyone was raving on this album. There's a lot of people like this is like this is like a magnum opus. This is this. I do like this album start to finish. Again, like I said, there's a lot of Genesis moments. There's some Porcupine Tree moments with Warp and Wealth was one of the tracks that stuck out. Dead Point stuck out to me.
Yep.
It is a concept album, so you're dealing with story start to finish. Um, One of the things with concept albums, and I enjoy it. I'm a prog rock guy, so I enjoy this. I don't think it's as good as some of their other stuff, but I think the thing that hits me is when you deal with concept albums, and you know this between Pink Floyd's The Wall and anything
Mhm.
else you might have listened to. These concept albums are telling a story and they kind of build up and build up. And, at the end, there's a climax and maybe there's a song or two after it to kind of like fizzle it out. And I will say that's what I was waiting for this whole album. And I do like it. Don't get me wrong. I do like it, but I was expecting that big pop at the end. That big, grand climax. Um, I think my favorite song is The Sharpest Blade. There's something about it just very, very proggy. If you like some flutes, you like some saxophone. It does have a little bit of everything in here. If you're into it. We can talk about this band as a whole a different time. But um it was a little slow, a little mellow, very ambient at times. One of my biggest pet peeves, if you know me, I do not like interlude tracks. Half the time, I'm like, stick it on another song, the before or after,
Mm.
or cut it. There's a couple of those on here.
There's a couple of those here. I think Inkwell Black, the beginning of the album, and then Second
Mhm.
Press was another one that was kind of a transition
Yeah,
there.
I mean the opening. If it's an opening for some reason, that's like my all right. You're starting an album, cool. We
Right.
can do that. We can work with that. Um, but if you're into progressive rock, Live the Land's another one I enjoyed. I'm trying to, and I just hit play on one of the songs. Said Dead Point was good. Where was was it Cut and Run? I believe Cut and Run. Again,
Cut and
all kind. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, Cut and Run. I think that was an instrumental on the
Mhm.
album. At that point, I said, "Oh, guys, I'm running out of things to add on this." I said,
No, that's
and
perfectly fine. Were
yeah,
there any things that stuck out to you outside of the singles?
yeah, I would say, what it felt like for me. I'm not going to shit on it because obviously there's talent there, and I
Mhm,
think it's just a thing where it's just not my cup of tea,
mhm,
really. But I like the way progressive rock bands do this where the tracks flow into each other.
mhm.
I've always really liked that, and I think the highlight of the album for me would be Light Without Heat.
Yes.
I really did like that one. And also Albion Press. I like the way that's very upbeat,
Mhm.
and a little bit groovy at the beginning there. I was hoping it would pick back up a little bit. Is there a female vocalist too with this band?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a female vocalist. They have, and we, I was thinking about, I'm like, maybe I could just do my own prog deep dives at some point with some of these bands. It's a whole there are currently one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 members. Um, and actually, I think the female vocal, Claire Lindley, also does the violin and some keyboards.
There's a lot of instruments on this.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially Arcadia. I wrote that
Mm.
down, and yeah. Huh.
Yeah, and if you and here's the thing, like I would if as somebody who's a big fan of this was not my first, if I was to introduce somebody to the band, this wouldn't be my first cup of tea. I
Mm.
would personally go back to something like East Coast Racer. I know it's a 15-minute song, but it starts up it's about I think a racer, a race. So it's like very upbeat and it does have those moments where it feels like you're going through like hills and you're driving into a countryside. This here I was expecting it to get a little more crazy. Like, okay, I'm not making, going off the concept. It's driving me up a wall. I can't get my piece of art to be perfect, and it didn't get there. And I think in time, and this thing with prog rock for me, I can listen to an album and be like, I didn't care for it. I did this with Mastodon a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't care for this. And then like 5 or 6 years later, I picked them back up, and I was like, this is really good. Like this is really, really good. So it's never anyone's cup of tea. And if you don't like long stuff, this is over an hour long, this album. I definitely think they could have cut it down 10 minutes. But if you like prog rock, you might like this. I will leave it at that. But I do enjoy this. I'll be revisiting this one throughout the year.
Yeah, I think this was about 16 songs, I think. Yeah, like you said, a little over an
Mhm.
hour. I will say the production on it, it sounded good. Everything sounded all the instrumentation sounded it blended really well. I think it all sounded fine. I think it was just maybe just a little too weird for me. It felt like it felt like I was going from like basic math to like trigonometry.
That this is like almost concentrated like progressive rock because we talk about prog rock, we talk about bands with prog rock elements like Muse. They have like prog rock influences with their music if you're very everyone's familiar with Muse, or Dream Theater, where they're metal, and then they have the prog rock stuff, more like a Rush kind of feel, where it's like heavy and technical. And this is like it filtered out. It's like, if what's pure prog? Big Train is one of those like pure prog bands. So
No, this branched out a lot. There was points where it was like kind of folky,
mhm.
Chimera was a big one, and there was a cappella pieces in here, like Warp and Weft had
Yep.
that, and I said, "Wow," I said, "This is really all over the place." I mean, as you would expect with something progressive rock.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I guess in summary, like I said, I've been revisiting this band for like the past 6 months, and I've been listening to stuff I had never heard from them before, and I again I love it. Um, if you want to give it a listen, guys, give it a listen. I would also, if you are interested in the prog rock stuff, I would go to look for their last album, The Likes of Us, the song Oblivion. That's kind of more like what I would expect, like John, you might enjoy, or East Coast Racer off of English Electric Part Two.
Yeah, I'll have to see what their older stuff sounds like. Like I said, this is my first sit down with the band. I'd never heard of them before, but I'm always happy to be introduced to new things, even and then just discover if it is just happens to be my thing or not. But yeah, that's pretty much our thoughts on Big Train and their new album Woodcut. Please share your thoughts in the comments below what you thought of the new album, and we will see you for the next review, guys. As always, thank you. Do not forget to join the Bedlam.